Welcome, everybody. I'd like to call this council meeting to order at exactly 5:30 p.m. I can confirm we have full council today. With that, Councillor Schumacher, would you mind reading the land acknowledgement, please?
Not at all. I would like to respectfully acknowledge that we are on the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe under the terms of the Robertson-Huron Treaty number 61 of 1850 and the Williams Treaties of 1923. We commit to acknowledge, learn, educate, create opportunity, honor sacred places, and take action towards real truth and reconciliation in the support of our commitment to walking the path together in respect, peace, and harmony for future generations.
Thank you very much, Councillor Schumacher. Are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest? Councillor Stone.
Yes, item 10.4, bylaw 2025-59 for personal reasons.
Okay, so noted. Thank you. And with that, I can confirm we do not have any invited or ceremonial presentations or deputations tonight. So we're moving quickly into agenda item number 6, which is a public meeting regarding video surveillance. And I do have some official, and look at that. We have a member of the public, isn't that? Hi, Rachel. I'm sorry. I'm going totally off script here. I have a script. I have to read this. So I do have to read from a script because it is actually an official public meeting. I'd like to welcome everyone to the public portion of the meeting to consider the video surveillance system at Rivermill Park. Notice of the public meeting was posted on the public meeting page on the town's website on May 12th, posted on the Town of Huntsville's news and public notice page on May 12th, circulated to the BIA on May 12th, and included in the council pre-meeting highlights communication on May 23rd. The procedure of the public meeting will be as follows. 1, Ian Parker, our Manager of Information Technology, will provide a brief overview. And 2, any members of the public present in person or electronically will then be permitted to ask questions or provide comments respecting the matter. Council will then have the opportunity to ask questions of the manager and provide comments. Once the public meeting is concluded and the input received, council may discuss the matter. Any persons making representation are requested to first state their name and mailing address. Please note, we request presentations be no longer than a maximum of 5 minutes. And with that, I would ask Ian Parker if you wouldn't mind coming forward and making your presentation. Please.
Thank you, Your Worship and Council. So we are doing a quick public meeting with regards to the cameras that we're putting up in Rivermill Park. The background on this item, it was approved October last year, and it was brought into place because due to ongoing vandalism at the band shell and the washrooms. It was approved under Corporation Staff Report, Corp 2024-48 in September, and we have prepared that report and it has been approved. This open public meeting is being done under our video surveillance policy for the town of Huntsville, where we make it available for public to make comments, both about the placement of the cameras as well as ask any questions as they wish. Specifically, within this location, we're looking to deploy 6 cameras. There's going to be 2 that are going to be located on the washroom. Going to throw me off. So on the washroom, we're going to do 2. Those are listed as what are called 365 cameras. They'll be in the opposite corners as noted on the diagram. They're in that place to make sure that they do not have access through the doorways and just have access to the outside of the building. The other benefit that we have to that is they are not long distance cameras. So they're really just going to capture the relatively close area around the washrooms themselves. So we won't be leaking over into private space. We will have, we're aiming to have 4 cameras on the band shell itself. One in particular is going to be aiming back to give us a general view of the washrooms, just to see what's going on in case something was to happen to the 365 cameras that are up there. And then we've got 2 that'll be facing out into the open grass space. There's a number of activities, events, and new equipment that's going to be installed out there, is my understanding. So they will be into that location. And the one that you see that looks like it's facing south is not over the band shell, but that's actually under the roof of the band shell, looking at the back wall and the floor. That area kind of covering what's happening inside the band shell. And that's the coverage that we're looking to have on that location. And that covers most of the details.
Okay, thank you, Ian. So at this time, I would ask if there are any members of the public present in person who would like to address council on this matter. And I don't see any that are present. So I will ask if there are any members of the public who are present electronically. And if they are, please use the raise hand button or press 9 to indicate you would like to address council.
Mayor Alcock, I see 0 hands raised.
Okay, so with that, apparently we don't have anybody from the public. So at this point, I will ask council if you have any questions or comments. Councillor Cluche.
Through you, Chair. Thank you. Ian, just a quick question. The placement of the cameras, is this where we've had our most vandalism? Is that why they're placed in this area? Is that, or is there these just because the way the cameras are set up?
Through you, Your Worship, this was covering areas that have experienced vandalism and covering areas that we expect to see more equipment going in, such I've heard things like ice rinks and whatnot else. So it's basically getting ready for future items.
Councillor Renwick.
Thank you, Your Worship, and through you to Ian, thank you for the report. I'm very happy to hear that one of the cameras will be facing actually on the stage of the band shell, because it looked like in the drawing that it was actually, or in the photograph, that the 4 cameras were kind of going out towards the periphery. But there is a lot of activity happening on that stage of the band shell at night and at different times. So I'm glad to see that one of the cameras will be capturing some of that.
Councillor Stone.
Thank you. Ian, who will have access to the data we're collecting? How long do we save it? Who gets to view it?
Through you, Your Worship. So the visibility to that will most likely be through bylaw only. They're the only ones that access it, and anything will be requested will be under a legal request. It's not available. These are not monitored 24/7, so they're just recorded and cached away in case there's a requirement to review. The aim is to have them saved for 14 days, and they will automatically remove themselves from the system, any recordings that occur.
Councillor Schumacher.
Thank you. I'm sure this was probably covered in the report, but signs, how many do we have to have? Because I know we have to have signs saying this is video, certain spots. Yeah, that we are surveilling people, correct? We have to have a sign up that says and lets people know that we're doing this?
Yeah, through Your Worship, the answer is yes, we will be putting signs up. I don't have a specific count for those ones at the moment, but there's definitely, it's part of the project to make sure those signs are installed and visible.
A quick question. Ian, of all of the cameras, do any of them, will they show parts of the community garden?
That is, so, to Your Worship, the answer is it can. They are flexible to a certain extent. It just depends on what we wish to have covered, a little bit left and a little bit right. Obviously, based on the construction of the band shell, we do have limitations on how far we can move those cameras around.
I appreciate the comment on that. I know that at one point, the people that were responsible for the community garden, there was a lot of vandalism of the fencing and some other issues. So it's a thought that
Fair enough.
you might want to consider.
Okay.
Okay. Deputy Mayor Armour.
Thank you, Worship. Through you, just a very quick one. Have you seen these in operation, and is the picture clear? What's the clarity of the picture?
Through Your Worship, all of the cameras that we're putting up, with the exception of the 360 cameras, are 4K cameras. So the picture is quite clear. Obviously, the farther away from the camera you end up, the less clear it becomes, the less detail you get, but they are some, from a quality and a resolution standpoint, they are some of the better that you can get right now.
Yes, Councillor Renwick.
Thank you, Your Worship. And again, it's more of a comment, but and I think it was to what your point about the community garden. I think that once these cameras are up, and I think it will deter vandals from thinking, well, there are cameras down there. That's gonna, let's not do anything because we'll get caught. So that's a good thing. So the whole thing is good.
Thank you for that, because I do appreciate that, and certainly there are lots of cameras, so, and that could be absolutely just fine. So I appreciate that comment. Councillor Clark.
Thanks, Mayor Alcock. So just a quick question, the 14 days, you said is how long they're cached for. Is that enough time to, I'm just wondering if that's the normal time frame for how long recordings are kept. I'm just wondering if a crime happens, by the time the police are involved, is 14 days enough time to be able to get to the stuff they might need to get to?
Through your worship, that is something fair to discuss. We're just going by the current policy, which does not have anything set for RMP yet within the policy, but 14 days is the average length that we were holding video from. Or for, my apologies.
Look at this, everybody's interested. I just want to say, I'm making note of that. This is Councillor Fitzgerald.
Thank you, Your Worship. Thanks for the report, Ian, and good question. I think that it'd be pretty tough for us to go 14 days without someone discovering that there's been vandalism. So, but we should definitely look into it. But usually the police will reach out within 2 or 3 days. Are these cameras equipped with audio as well? Just video?
Through your worship, the answer is they do have audio, but the expectation is that we will do disabling the audio. And once they're disabled, they cannot be brought back online.
Because it's proven very effective in recent vandalism we've experienced in Port Sydney, that the audio was critical to the investigation. So.
Okay. I don't see anyone else, but that was a lot of feedback. Thank you for the presentation. Much appreciated. So, right, now that all comments have been received, I declare the public meeting for video surveillance now concluded. Thanks, Ian. That's great. Okay, so moving right along to agenda item number 7, council minutes. I have a motion moved by Councillor Clark, seconded by Councillor Renwick. Be it resolved that the following council meeting minutes be adopted as printed and circulated. Regular meeting, April 28th, 2025. Planning meeting, May 14th, 2025. Questions or comments? All those in favor? And that carries. I should do it with the same gusto that Bob is. Agenda item number 8, which is reports for information meeting minutes. And starting with the Huntsville Public Library Board, we have April 4th, 2025. Councillor Cloutier, anything to comment?
Nothing to comment as reported.
Okay. Any questions of Councillor Cloutier? Okay. Seeing none, we'll move along to 8.1.2. Downtown Huntsville BIA, we have minutes from April 10th, 2025. Councillor Renwick, anything to add?
No, thank you, Your Worship, but nothing to add. I always feel like we're a month behind. So I
Behind,
want to say
know.
things, but no, it was a pretty straightforward meeting, and the minutes are there for your information.
I do enjoy reading the minutes, so you're right. I always feel like, oh yes, that happened. Yes, and that was a good event, and you know, all of that, but I appreciate that. Councillor Schumacher.
I'm just curious because it seems new. What is Dancing on the Dock?
If I may, that's actually from the Huntsville Festival they are.
Festival,
And that's
that's
a new
right.
project that
Yeah.
they're looking at doing in downtown. So they've asked for support from the BIA, but that's one of their events. So, yeah.
Cool. Okay, then I will move along to 8.1.3, Huntsville Lake of Bays Chamber of Commerce update. Minutes from April 11th, 2025. Councillor Renwick.
Thank you, Your Worship. And just to update, the Chamber is looking for new committee members, not board members, but committee members, for on their membership, fundraising, and their governance committees. So if you know anyone that would be interested, and I guess the plan is, or the idea is that if you join a committee, that you might decide to actually stay on the board as well. So a little bit less work on a committee, but still very engaging. And just an update, and this kind of relates to the BIA as well, but the Maple Fest happened recently as well as the Beer Fest. And despite the rain and the cool weather, and also some other challenges, they were both still very successful. So kudos to the Chamber and the BIA in combination for those two events that happened recently.
That's fantastic. Yeah, if I may, is there a timeline or a deadline as to looking for the people who might be interested in sitting on a committee?
That's a very good question, Your Worship. I don't know. I can certainly find out.
Okay, that's great. Thank you. Any other questions or comments? I don't see any. Thank you all for that. We're moving along to General Committee report for adoption. I have a motion moved by Councillor Morrison, seconded by Councillor Cloutier. Be it resolved that the General Committee meeting minutes dated April 30th, 2025, and the recommendations contained therein be adopted as printed and circulated. Any questions or comments? All those in favor? And that carries. Sorry, I was a bit, I spoke softly when I said all those in favor. I know, sorry. I lost something. I'm sorry. Okay, I think everybody raised their hand. Okay, good. Thank you. All right, we do not have any reports from municipal officers, so we're moving straight to bylaws for passage. I have a motion moved by Councillor Stone, seconded by Councillor Fitzgerald. Be it resolved that bylaw numbers 2025-56 to 2025-58 inclusive be reported and passed this 26th day of May 2025. 10.1 bylaw 2025-56 Fowler Construction 33 Caesars Lane and MRC Building Stone Company at 1265 Aspden Road, repeal and replace. 10.2 bylaw 2024-57 CPP Minnock 410 Grassmere Resort Road. And finally 10.3 bylaw 2024-58 Municipal Accommodation Tax Bylaw, repeal and replace bylaw 2019-123. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Okay, and that was louder that time. That's good. And this one, Councillor Stone, you've declared a conflict, so you're back. I have a motion moved by Councillor Fitzgerald, seconded by Councillor Clark. Be it resolved that bylaw 2025-59, CPP Stone, no civic address, 0LT3C1CH, be reported and passed this 26th day of May 2025. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that carries. Thank you, everybody. What, there's something. Okay, moving right along. So we are moving to, we don't have anything under previous business, so we're moving to new business. Our first item, I have a motion moved by Deputy Mayor Armour, seconded by Councillor Cloutier. Be it resolved that Huntsville Council requests the District of Muskoka complete a speed limit analysis and consideration of a potential speed limit reduction from 80 kilometers to 60 kilometers on Brunel Road, District Road number 2 from Markles Road to Britannia Road. Deputy Mayor Armour.
Thank you, Worship. A constituent that lives in that area reached through Councillor Cloutier, who then reached out to me about seeing if they get a speed reduction in that area due to, you know, cars driving a high rate of speed. I guess new families been moving out that way, and it's growing up a little bit. So we tried to explain the fact of enforcement was probably the best way to address the concerns. But in the meantime, we thought we'd send something to the district and just have them do an analysis of the road and just see if it does warrant an actual reduction in speed.
Are there questions of Deputy Mayor Armour? Yes, Councillor Stone.
So with the speed reductions, I'm always a little, I question it. We know that it doesn't really change the behaviors on that road. And is there a more encompassing study to inform us of what's appropriate before we just say that one and that one and that one? There's some people that would like all of our roads to be 20 kilometers an hour, and there's others that would like them much faster. So I think it would be, and I realize that this recommendation is to do an analysis, but is there not something more encompassing for all the district roads or all of our roads that could inform us better?
That's a road, right. So Councillor Cloutier, are you going to respond to Councillor Stone?
Yeah, I will.
That's good. Thank you.
Thank you. I understand on most of if you look, a lot of our district roads, all basically rural in our area, like except for our downtown. But I think we have to look at the populated area ones. Now, there is a lot of district roads with nothing on either side of the road, and 80 kilometers is fine. But in this area, there's a lot before on the Port Sydney side of this address, it's 60 kilometers an hour right in front of their, and then it turns to 80 just before their house, goes up until Markles Road is 80. And then it goes down to 60 and 40 and 50 on there. So there's absolutely no need to have 80 in between there because, and this stretch of road, because it has houses on both sides of it. There's heavy populated, plus there's large dog kennels that is along there too, that, you know, a lot of people are in and out of that traffic wise. So the other day, I was coming out of Friends Driveway just before the school, and they have the sign that says how fast you're going. There was the newly created 60 kilometer an hour area that we did from Markles Road to the school. They were doing 97 kilometers. So I think if we lower the speed and we can get the police, I think the higher the price tag they're going to have to pay, and that's the only way they're going to stop them. But I also understand in some areas, yes, we don't need 60 on a rural with no houses, but I definitely, if there's houses along there with kids, there's no place for anybody to walk or bike or anything. So
Appreciate that. Councillor Schumacher.
Yeah, I mean, this does come up a lot in the rural areas, and I actually have been listening to Mr. Hall when I do talk to him, and he said that under the Highway Traffic Act, it is 80 kilometers unless we as a council decide otherwise. So there is legislation, to Councillor Stone's point. Is the Highway Traffic Act maybe not where it needs to be? I don't know, and I can't make that decision provincially. We also do have a road needs study, which I believe may not quite be complete yet, but it did specifically, this one, I believe, did look at the roads, and possible speed limits was one of the areas that it was looking at. So I think once that is fully complete, we will get a copy of that to take a look, was my understanding, and a good idea. Also, is it speeds, and is it, sometimes it's calming strategies that need to be used as mitigation is sort of the conversations I've had with operations in different areas, right? So I think there's a combination of things that we can probably look at. I'm not opposed to an analysis for sure, because I think that's always a good first step. And I know I was actually just talking to the director, and we are looking at more speed signs in the area to maybe help with the mitigation. But the enforcement isn't there either, too. We don't have the police out to be able to, especially in the rural areas, to do the enforcement. So I think there's a lot of things to consider.
I agree. Do we not have the same issue on Muskoka Road 10, where near VK Greer it slows down, and then past that it speeds up, and then it slows down, and that I know was an issue.
Well, we did a test there, like we did some, we had the signs in there. We had like somebody going 150 into the school zone. Yeah.
We haven't asked the district to look at that one. Have we?
No.
We haven't
we?
asked the district to look at that particular. Yeah, I do. I'm looking at you. It's 60, but then it goes down to 50, and then it goes back up. Yeah, okay. So my point being, it's not consistent, and the same thing happens.
Yeah, it's 40, 50, 60. district had, and the OPP both did traffic and speed studies there over the last 5 years. And we had reports on high speed, average speed, you know, and there were some ridiculous speeds. I honestly think that there's not enough enforcement, and people are going to continue to do it because they don't get caught, and when they do get caught, the fines are too minimal. So I think it's time we started looking at other communities that have cameras to keep our roads safe. You know, at what point do we say enough is enough? Someone visited me on Sunday at my home, and someone almost got hit on Clearwater Lake Road at the end of his driveway. He said 90 kilometers an hour they went by, and he pulled the person in, and they were on his driveway. So I think we have a greater issue we have to consider for sure.
So I agree. And I think that we have this motion about this particular situation. We should deal with that. But I do think that perhaps there's a follow-up discussion with the commissioner at the district as to how best to proceed on this larger issue that you started, Councillor Stone. So I appreciate that. Deputy Mayor Armour and then Councillor Renwick.
Thank you, Worship. Just quickly, I see that Mr. Hall's he can probably speak to some of the issues that we have on our roadways.
I know,
Because
that's
I know
true.
he's been in communication with the district and their department too with our
Okay,
meetings.
thank you for, hello, Brandon. I knew you were there, but that was good. So come join us. This is a good discussion. And may I go to Councillor Renwick before we go back to you?
Thank you, Your Worship. And actually, my comment or my question may actually be very, it'll relate to what I think what Mr. Hall is going to say. We had a discussion about Burnell Road closest to, as you come down to Main Street, so coming over that hump. And that was something that the speed coming from the school over that hump into downtown, it's a horrible area because it's blind, you can't see it. So if we're looking at speed along Burnell, I'd like to put that area in there as well. I know it's not in the motion, Tanya, but I think Brandon may be able to speak to that as well.
Okay. So you've heard all of the comments.
Lots of them, yes.
Yes.
But
Where
I'll-
would you
I'll-
like to begin?
Through your worship, we'll just go right at it here. So, I mean, there's a lot of great comments. There's a lot of moving parts when you look at speed reductions. The Transportation Association of Canada manual is what we follow, also referred to as the TAC manual. So in there, we're looking at horizontal and vertical alignments. So those are your curves and ups and downs, your sight lines. They're looking at traffic volume. They're all considered, and there's more factors, list goes on, but it's all considered into an equation on when you're looking at speed limits. So with that, what we've done in our road needs study is we've had that consultant identify the roads that we already have as to which ones need to be reviewed under that manual. So that has already been completed, and we are starting that process this summer. We have an extra 4 traffic counters that are going to help us to complete that task. So we'll know which ones, and we may be coming before you with a bylaw amendment to reflect those changes. But they've already been pointed out over our total kilometers of road. So that was a good exercise through that study. With the districts, some comments about going from a 40 to a 50 to a 60 or vice versa. A lot of those, what you're going to see is transition zones. So you're not going to have an 80 to a 40. You're not going to have an 80 to a 50. You need to go 80 to 60. Then you can get to 50. So some of those areas that are in question today weren't warranted under the previous analysis that I reported back on, but they needed to reduce that speed limit to get that transition zone. So that's why you see a reduction in there, and it wasn't for the fact that that section of road warranted it. But again, they're happy to run it through the analysis if the motion moves forward. So that I did get confirmation on. But again, a lot of moving parts. One of the biggest things I want to express is when we are talking about speed reductions, is it can reduce the level of service. So the speed is a big contributing factor when it comes to your the minimum maintenance standards in the class of road that we have. So if you go from a 60 to a 40, or you happen to go from an 80 to a 60, it could bump that road to a class 5 instead of a class 4, and your response times and your maintenance is different. So under our minimum maintenance standards, we generally have classes 6, 5, 4s, and the odd class 3. They all have different response times. So the more we reduce those speed limits, we're also reducing the taxpayer's level of service as well. So it may not have effect, or it could have effect, but it is there, and your speed limit is a contributing factor when it comes to your minimum maintenance standards that we're obligated to follow. So with that, I mean, it's there's a lot of moving parts, but again, right now, I know there's a speeding issue up in Deerfoot Trail. We've got our 2 message boards out there asking people to slow down, big orange boards put to use. You know, we look to keep rotating them around. We're looking at other alternatives to put on the roads, side of roads. We've got looking at getting some speed limit signs, you know, that flash, tell you to slow down, that type of stuff. All that traffic calming measures. And again, just with it's driver behavior. And I don't know how much technology is out there to prevent driver behavior, but it doesn't seem like much as far as that comes. So we are doing our best to look at that, and just all around, you know, the district and the other area municipalities are looking at, you know, a holistic approach to school zones and stuff, and how far out we want to declare it as a school zone. What does that radius look like? All that type of stuff in those areas. So there's a lot of moving parts, a lot of things on the go, but that's kind of where we're at right now.
It's complicated. I think the bottom line, thank you for that. It was a great overview. Councillor Fitzgerald.
Thanks for that, Brandon. And you sold yourself short there, because there are some roads you have them at a service level above what the requirement is. So should let people know that one too.
Any other questions? Thank you. It was good you were here for that. Thank you. All right, I don't see any, and I have read the motion. So with that and that good discussion, I will call the question. All those in favor? And that carries unanimously. Thank you. Okay, so the next motion, item number 2, under Historical Society, there's a slight amendment, so I'm going to read the motion and then follow it with the amendment. Okay, so I have a motion moved by Councillor Renwick, seconded by Deputy Mayor Armour. Whereas as per motion 94-24, Council delegated the task of reviewing properties on the town's register of properties of cultural heritage value to Huntsville and Area Historical Society. And whereas reviewing the register involves digitizing historical records related to the properties on the register. And whereas HAS have not been successful in securing grant funding to support the task. Now therefore be it resolved that staff be directed to provide HAS with up to $8,000 to support digitization of the historical records to be funded from the records management operational budget. Before I read the amendment, they actually received some funding. Does that matter? Okay. Okay. All right. I'm going to now read the amendment. I have an amendment moved by Councillor Renwick, seconded by Deputy Mayor Armour. Be it resolved that the following words, records management operational budget, at the end of paragraph 4 be struck out and replaced with heritage reserve. Okay. And I got that. So yes, thank you. I have to leave that one open because could I ask our our Director of Development Services if you wouldn't mind speaking to this? And I will certainly jump in if need be.
Thank you, Your Worship. So we worked with the Historical Society in the fall, and earlier this year, they were applying for 2 grants to try and get funding for a student. The student would be digitizing the records at the library. So those are all the old LACAC records from the previous committees of council. And then they would also be working on reviewing and evaluating each property that is on our of interest list to see about designating each of those. And hopefully visiting each property and documenting the heritage aspects of each property where feasible. So the funding that they did receive, one of the 2 grants, is just not enough to cover the costs of the position for the full 4 months. And so they were asking for the town's assistance. And we do have a heritage reserve that has not previously been allocated for any expenses. And so we think that that would be able to cover the costs.
So I was approached by one of the members from the Heritage Society, and their situation was difficult because of the timing of the provincial election. And they were in the throes of hiring. They had tremendous applicants. And the applicants, of course, were looking for a 4-month summer job. And these are, municipalities traditionally play a role for summer jobs for people, and certainly in areas like this, it's very important. They approached us because they knew they had at least 50% of the funding, but they had not heard from the province, and they were in the middle of the election. So they asked if we were able to backstop, if that would be something we could do, thinking that they would hear after the election. Well, they heard after the election and they weren't successful. But in the meantime, they have this great student who's doing tremendous work. And so we were asked that, could we follow through with the backstop? And we happen to have a heritage reserve, which is really great because unallocated funds. So that was how we got to this. And with that, I'll put my glasses on and ask if there are any questions. Yes, Councillor Morrison.
Yes, right now we're technically just speaking on the amendment. Okay.
The amendment is changing it from taking it out of records management operation budget and moving it to the heritage reserve.
Okay, should we vote on the amendment and then I can speak to the main motion as amended?
Okay.
Is that,
So
because what I'm saying is not going to really be that, if that's okay. Yeah.
Well, if there aren't any other questions regarding the amendment, all those in favor of the amendment. Okay, that carries. So now, we can discuss the main motion as amended.
All right, cool. Yeah, I think this is great. I fully support it. Makes so much sense. What we're getting out of this is huge for the town. They are our records, and it's a massive update. So the fact that we have the reserve makes it a no-brainer. It's not going to hit the levy at all. So I think this is easy, very easy.
Okay, thank you for that, Councillor Morrison. Are there any other comments? Councillor Fitzgerald, you have your microphone on. Just wondered. Well, there, just a comment, just a comment. Councillor Clark.
Thanks, Mayor Alcock. How much is currently in the reserve?
I'm going to turn to our Director of Financial Services.
Great.
we
I just
can
I happen to have that on me. It's there's $9,370 in that reserve, and no funds are being allocated in or out of it.
Okay, thank you for that. Did you hear that, Councillor Clark? Okay. Do you have a follow-up?
How long have the funds been just continuing on from budget to budget without being allocated?
I'm going to turn to the Director of Financial Services. Do we have that answer, or?
I don't know if I have the exact answer for how many years, but I did look back to a report. The last time we did use those funds was 2013.
Wow. Interesting. Thank you for that. Councillor Clark? Okay. Councillor Renwick.
Thank you, Your Worship. And just to say, I do sit on the, it's not really a committee, I'm more of an advisor a representative from the town. And the work that the Historical Society is doing, and they are doing work for us, in particular with those number of historical, there are 12 that are allocated, and then there are, I think, 126 that are of interest. So the information that they're making digital is invaluable to us because we'll be able to use that for eons, a long time. So I think it's very important, and I'm 100% in favor of this as well. So, yeah.
Thank you for that. Councillor Fitzgerald, now you can use your mic.
Yeah, I fully support this. I think it's important that we preserve these records, and paper always has a risk of going with the wayside. Are we still contributing to this reserve?
Sorry, there's been no funds coming in or out of it since 2013.
Interesting. I know.
Thank you.
It's almost as if it was meant to happen. Thank you for that. All right, are there any other questions? Apparently, I have to speak louder into my mic, and that might actually go for some of us as well, not just me, but apparently for those who are listening online, it's very difficult, especially with me. So, Councillor Fitzgerald?
Thank you, Your Worship. This brings to light, maybe we should have a report on how many reserves we're not using and we're not contributing to, and we haven't used for however long. Future.
I think that's a great comment. And Director Mackenzie.
I'd just like to bring up that we actually just did a report on that. And we did have a listing of all the reserves and whether they have ongoing funding or not. And also when we bring for general committee, we do have a reserve balance also in our year-end report. So I would encourage everybody to look at those too.
I'm not sure that what you're implying by saying that, but I think I know what you're implying. And on yes, Councillor Fitzgerald.
I guess it's unfortunate that all of us around the table seem to have overlooked it.
All of us. Well, some were actually they were. Anyway, it was a good comment, and thank you for that update, Director Mackenzie. Okay, I don't see any other questions or comments, so I will call the question on the main motion as amended. All those in favor? And that carries unanimously. Thank you all for that. I know that they will be thrilled. Okay, moving right along. We are moving, we are moving to general information. So under general information, under 13.1, we have council correspondence all the way from April 17th to May 16th. For anyone who might be interested, we continue to receive many, many letters from all sorts of municipalities and people. Moving to 13.2, we had a successful flag raising today at 4:30. It was National Accessibility Week. It is National Accessibility Week, and we had that flag raising in Civic Square. Anything you would like to add, Councillor Schumacher, to that, or it really is self-explanatory?
No, pretty much it is. And just reminding anyone on council who would like to participate to wear your red shirt on Wednesday. It is Easter Seals Red Shirt Day to acknowledge support for people with disabilities.
Okay, appreciate that. Thank you. All right, so moving right along, we're going to District of Muskoka update, starting with EPW, and that would be Deputy Mayor Armour.
Thank you, Your Worship. We did meet on Wednesday, May 21st. We had a very good presentation at the beginning. It was talking about the environment, and they're talking about communion wells and septic systems. So it was interesting that the volume that if it's not producing more than 10,000 liters through a septic system, then they don't get involved with it. It becomes a municipal issue. So really 4 plexes and up 6 plexes could actually reach that. But it's very interesting actually to hear how many. We actually in Huntsville, we have 5 buildings right now. They're on communal services. One out Ravenscliff Road, Ravencliff Apartments. They're actually on a communal service well and serve. So it's interesting. So if you have a chance to look at the agenda, you should look at that report. We had a couple of recommendations for some award contracts. One very exciting one was the Muskoka Road 3, Highway 11 to Lawrence Street. So West End coming into town will be worked on this summer and cleaned up. All the ruts and potholes will be fixed up, just like they did on Muskoka Road 2 last year. A report on environmental about the 2024 waste management data and how the collection of tonnage and disposal capacity update. And Rosewood is now up to, they say, 16 years. So actually the lifespan of the cells are going to get longer now with the clear bags and everybody using organics. So keep up the great work, everyone. And that's my report.
I see that. Thank you for that great report. Councillor Cluche.
Just a quick question. The other day I was at the Baysville transfer station, And Canadian Waste Disposal always brought the bins there. No- Excuse me. Now I see E360 is, there been a contract change or in our garbage pickup? I don't know if you can answer that or not. I just thought about it when you were talking. Sorry.
I'd have to find that out for you to be sure. We did just award a contract, but I wasn't sure if it was, I thought we stayed with the same provider right now, but Muskoka Waste, but I can find out for you.
Councillor Morrison, my apologies, I got sidetracked.
Thank you, Mayor Alcock, and through you to Deputy Mayor Armour. That one stretch, obviously in town is different because there's sidewalks, but that one stretch from Highway 11 coming up to the old MTO building, are they going to do bike lanes in there when they do this? Do you know, or?
They didn't mention bike lanes, but that's all part of that Aspen Road that we had bike lanes put in a few years ago. So if we wanted bike lanes, it's probably something that we would have to cover the cost or shared cost with them, but I'm not really sure because I think
it's
that's what we did on Aspen Road.
It's a great question, though, and what we had to do with Aspenden Road was remind them. And I think, Deputy Mayor, you spoke to the commissioner at the time and at committee, and I think that we should do that again because we can't be redoing any of that road without considering the shoulders at least, right? So that's a fantastic comment. And Councillor Stone.
So we're supposed to have a standing order with them
Yes.
whenever possible, when
Yes.
they're redoing a road, to add bike lanes or active transportation lanes.
you're-
So
you're-
if we have to remind them, well,
And again, with our memory, because we actually passed a motion at this council
yes.
table
Yes.
saying that. So good one, Councillor Stone.
So
Thank you.
And Mr. Hall?
And Mr. Hall, would you like to add to this discussion? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Your Worship. So we've already been in talks with the district on this project. So we're also tying in our sidewalks as well. Retaining walls is another factor that's on that list. And we've also applied for a grant for sidewalk extension that's as per our sidewalk master plan to continue that on down to the MTO building, as well as interconnecting the accessibility spot at the MTO building for the Huntsville Transit. So we're already in talks with them, and we'll remind them of that obligation that we have.
If it may, Your Worship, we only approved the contract. I wasn't sure.
We do get ahead of ourselves in this one, I know. But it's good, we're enthusiastic, and thank you for that. I got sidetracked again. Thank you for being here once again. That's great, Mr. Hall. All right, I don't see any other questions with regard to that. Thank you. I will move to FCS. Councillor Morrison, May 21st meeting. But please stay here just in case.
I'll find a segue somehow just to get him in there. So really nothing to report. It was a Zoom meeting and it could have been pushed to next month. It was nothing of significance. So any questions, let me know.
Okay, are there any questions or comments? Okay, yes. Okay, with that, I'm going to move to Health Services Committee. Councillor Stone.
Thank you. So every month at Health Services, we get a report on staffing at our long-term care homes. And it also includes how much we're spending on staffing agencies, which are crazy expensive to use those kinds of staff. So we've been working really hard to fix that problem. And so right now, the Pines is moving to 12-hour shifts, which the employees like because they get more days off. We had 50% full-time and 50% part-time employees, and full-time employees are more reliable and stick around longer. So we are actually up to 70% full-time employees right now, and Fairburn will be moving to the 12-hour shifts as well, and we'll be ramping up for the opening of our new 160-bed long-term home. And with that, we have applied, because we have room at the new Fairburn, we're asking the province to add another 2 rooms. to, which doesn't sound much, but we've got it available. And if the province approves it, it's a minimal expense to add these 2 rooms. And over the, I don't know, 25 years, over the 25 years that the province pays us back for what we're investing in Fairburn, it's going to be worth over $1 million. So it's a huge win for us if we can get 2 more beds. And we approved a $300,000 grant to the Georgian Bay General Hospital. And the reason for that is because many of our citizens in Muskoka don't come to our hospital. So we're helping those particular hospitals. And in this case, they're doing an expansion right now, so we're giving them $300,000 to help that. And we got a report from the paramedics about the response time, and it's as good or better than last year. And that's it.
Thank you for that report. It should be noted that when there was that discussion around the 2 extra beds, it was kind of nice to hear positive feedback from the mayor of Muskoka Lakes, because it was more value for money, which is his common theme. And so it was actually, I got a lot of bang for the buck on that one, which was really good. And just to remind everybody, that the grant funding for Georgian Bay was part of the commitment that the district made, all councillors made, when we decided the local share contribution, that Georgian Bay only supported it if we supported their proposals around other hospitals. So that's interesting that that came forward. Sorry about that. Councillor Cluche.
Through you, Chair. Councillor, I was wondering why there's still, if we're such shortage of employees, why are they running at 70% full-time, 30% part-time? Is it because the jobs are not being offered to that 30%, or the employees don't want to be full-time, or what? Just a question I'm sure everybody else is wondering also.
I asked the same question at Health Services.
So it's a good question.
And I got a very long-winded answer, which I can't repeat. We are moving towards more and more full-time, but right now the part-time is 30% of our staff. So I don't have a proper answer for you.
And I can attest to the fact that Councillor Stone did ask that question. And it was a long answer, but it was moving in the right direction, sort of. I think that was the answer. It's moving, we're getting there, I think. Anyone else for a question or comment? Councillor Stone? Okay, that was a good long meeting. I then quickly report on District Council. We have a couple of District Council meetings to report on. The first one, Council finally supported the creation in full of a municipal services corporation to be known as Muskoka Airport Inc. And we've been moving in that direction for quite some time. And so this particular motion really starts implementing that decision by allowing staff to enter into agreements around shareholder agreements and ground lease agreements, municipal services, who's doing what, how we separate those functions, and the municipal asset transfer agreement. So that's another biggie. So that was a lengthy discussion, and once again, but it finally happened. And I think for a lot of people around the table, they were kind of pleased to see that there was progress on that. The other one at District Council that I thought might be of interest maybe was the next meeting, which we had immediately closing out the District Council meeting. We went into a special committee of the whole meeting, which is just another way of, it's much like our general committee here. And the purpose of the committee of the whole meeting was we immediately went into closed, but the point of the meeting was to discuss the future of how we might, as a district council, might organize ourselves for more fulsome discussions around bigger issues around housing, or, you know, we have a report back at this council from each of the standing committees. And frequently we find that those committees deal with issues that everybody around the council table has a real interest in. So that's what we talked about, and how we might, we asked staff to bring a report back that might look at reorganizing how we will make decisions going forward. It was a lengthy discussion and actually very useful, I thought. Did I miss anything on that particular discussion? I don't think so. Just oh, there was another item in closed that I actually, other than we went into closed to talk about a housing matter, right? So then that does that for council. And at Community and Planning Services Committee on May 22nd, the whole topic of communal service is sort of a common theme. We talked about extending communal services to a private development in Gravenhurst for another. The motion was recommended to deny for an extension of 3 years. Committee, after lengthy discussion about what would happen if we denied the application, it would mean that the existing development would actually no longer, there are people in the building and they would be cut off services because the developer has not extended services to the municipal infrastructure yet. So committee reversed the motion and extended for 2 years, but with an absolute end date of getting connected within that 2-year time frame. But I think the important part for our community is committee also approved the recommendation for the applications under the Muskoka Affordable Housing Initiative Program. And 10 of the units will be going to Brunel Road Management Corporation here in Huntsville for 10 affordable housing units, which is pretty exciting. But there is also an additional unit in Huntsville, which will be a secondary suite unit. And so that was kind of the 25 in total, 11 are going to be in Huntsville. So that was kind of exciting for us and exciting for those looking for affordable housing. I also can quickly report that we did have one of our official Huntsville Lake of Bays OPP detachment board meetings. That was way back on April 9th, and we reviewed the calls for service review. We also reviewed the Huntsville OPP Detachment Board annual report, amongst other things. I can say that of the 2 new OPP boards, I think we're very fortunate that we have sort of a mean, lean board with fewer representatives, so it means that we can have good dialogue around the table. The one to the south of us has many, many more members on it, and I think that they're suffering some growing pains, as I understand. There will be an addition, a provincial appointee to that board sometime in the very near future, someone from our community. And that is my update. Back to this paper. Okay, I moved the wrong paper. I'm getting useful assistance over here. So that's it for our updates. Any questions about mine? Okay. Yes, Councillor Fitzgerald, who joined us for at least one of those meetings at the district. Thank you.
Yeah, I was happy to be there. It's always nice to catch up. The funding for 11 units in Huntsville and 25 district-wide, does that use up all of the available funding?
Yes, and it's a very good question it uses up all of the available funding, and in fact, they could only assign 50%. They had more funding requests than they could fill.
So there was 25 they couldn't fulfill.
Yeah.
And when
So
is-
here's the good news about that. It's right away, you think, and some of the applications were from Huntsville. So the way they're dealing with that, they have an evaluation process. So they look at the how ready is the project, what's the track record of the applicant. There are a number of criteria that they fill. So for those that were not successful, they don't get rid of the applications. In fact, on a number of they will continue to dialogue with the applicants if they feel that these are good projects that might, in fact, be better suited in the next tranche. So there will be, the next time we go out for, with a request for proposals. And we will have more money next year. So there are a couple of applications that might actually be, who knows, touch wood, successful in the next round.
Just to follow up?
Yep.
So in the 26 budget, there'll be the same pool of money available?
Yes, well, hopefully.
Or
Well,
more?
yes, because we actually passed our 26 budget, and so we're not decreasing the amount that will go towards MAHIP.
So
Yeah.
there's potential for more than 25 in the next budget
It,
cycle?
for the next budget, probably not unless council decides to do a variance.
I think 25 is a good start.
It is a good start, but here's the other, and this has happened before. They, once committee approves all of this, they start to work with the applicants. And for whatever reason, sometimes an applicant might not be able to utilize the dollars. We've had that before. So if that's the case, those dollars will then go to another applicant that's on file or in the line. So that's always possible too. Okay? So thank you for that question. I should have said that. All right. So with that, we are moving to events and updates. I'm looking for my agenda. I might start because apparently I have a few, and I'll be very quick, I promise, Councillor Stone. I know that Deputy Mayor mentioned this at the last one, but I'm going to, because it is coming up in June. And that is on June 12th, there's the Mayor's Bike Ride and Gear Up for Kids program. And I want to thank the sponsors who have given enough money that we are able to purchase 7 bikes and helmets to kids in our community. And so I'm really excited about that. And that is to the Rotary Club of Huntsville for 3 bikes, to the Stevenson District Lions Club, and I want a special shout out to Councillor Fitzgerald for that. Tri Muskoka, of course, and to the mayor, and a couple of anonymous individuals who I think are balancing out the mayor's contribution and have decided to remain nameless. So I have to say thank you again to all of those sponsors. It means the world, not just to me, but to the participants in this event and to the kids who received them. It's really a cool thing. So, and I've already said, I've gone off script and I've said it. So again, the Mayor's Bike Ride is on June 12th and it's departing from the Active Living Center at 6:30 p.m. But also on the 12th, we have the Kids Bike Rodeo, which we've also been doing every year for a long time. And I've attended the rodeo event and it is amazing. There are literally over 100 kids that go through a course that has been set out for them and their parents are there. It is the coolest thing. I've signed probably 150 certificates because every kid that goes through this course gets a certificate to say how good they are at riding their bikes. And so that's really cool. And it's for ages 4 to 9. The time is 4:30 to 6:30, right up to the Mayor's Bike Ride. And that is at the Jack Bionda Arena, Pad C. But you have, for anybody who might be watching this, if you want your child to be part of that, you have to pre-register. Okay, and the next thing I want to say is that we have National Indigenous Peoples Day in Rivermill Park again, and that's on June 21st. And then in Bracebridge on June 28th is the now annual traditional powwow. Just because it's in Bracebridge again this year, I believe next year it will be rotating outside of Bracebridge. But it is now an annual traditional powwow. And again, last year it was fantastic. It was really great. Just one more comment from me, and I do this because our colleagues around the region really matter to us, and I want to congratulate Bracebridge on their 150th anniversary, which is coming up on June 7th. And 8th, apparently. 7th and 8th on the weekend. There will be big celebrations in Bracebridge. But really, I just wanted to say congratulations. Thank you for that. Are there any other announcements from Council? Yes, Councillor Fitzgerald.
Thank you, Worships. This was the last opportunity I have to remind everyone of the yard sale in Port Sydney on June 7th. The Lions Club hosts a female breakfast at the hall, and then Parks and Rec has lunch at the hall, and we're inundated by bargain hunters. And then in the evening we have Lobster Fest, which is completely sold out. And in the fall, we haven't finalized all the details. We're celebrating the 100th year anniversary of Port Sydney Hall in September.
Wow.
So
Wow. That's so there'll be more on that to come, I think. Councillor Schumacher.
To add to the 7th, I believe there's also a fundraiser at the fire department in Port Sydney. You guys doing the
yes.
car wash? Chief Monahan? Yeah. So go and get your car washed and support our fire department down there in Port Sydney. It's
Okay, thank you for that. Any other announcements? Your microphone is on, Councillor Fitzgerald.
It's just something I can't.
I don't know. It's something. Okay, then we are moving right along because we do not have anything enclosed. We do not have any business arising from closed. So I am moving to our confirmation bylaw. I have a motion moved by Councillor Schumacher, seconded by Councillor Stone. Be it resolved that confirmation bylaw 2025-60 be received and passed this 26th day of May 2025. Comments, questions, all those in favor? And that carries. And I know I didn't make it under the hour, did I? Oh well. I have one more motion. It has been moved by Councillor Renwick, seconded by Councillor Clark. Be it resolved, we do now adjourn at 6:37 p.m. All those in favor? And that carries all the way up. All those opposed?